We're here because we got her how? To do what?
Because I lied.
Not a bit of useful information has been provided by Ms. Anthony as to the whereabouts of her daughter. I would point out that the Truth and Ms. Anthony are strangers.
You pointed at the third floor window and you said, well, that's what's her name's bedroom, and Zanny's bedroom was right below, is on the other side. That's what you told me. So that was a lie.
That was a lie.
Casey has lied to me in the past, and when she's lied, she's told me the truth. We've always gotten to the bottom of the truth.
The Florida grand jury hands down a multi-count indictment against tot mom Casey Anthony just hours ago. This done behind closed doors. Those charges including murder 1 in the Florida jurisdiction. That is death penalty qualified. The district attorney has not made an announcement of whether the death penalty will be sought. There are only a few women in Florida history that have been sentenced to the death penalty. I believe this would make her the 16th woman in Florida history to actually be sentenced to the death penalty, only 2 having been executed in the past. Here you are seeing some of them as we show you those shots. Let's unleash the lawyers. Raymond Giudice out of Atlanta, Doug Burns out of New York. What do you make of the charges, Ray?
Well, Nancy, obviously very serious, but I actually see a glimmer of hope for the defendant in count number 3. This is the aggravated manslaughter count. It has 2 opportunities for the jury to find a lesser offense or for her to plead guilty. Opportunity number 1, that the child die by culpable negligence. We've talked about that on many shows. Or secondly, that the child died through the neglect or exploitation of another person. These are opportunities for a plea bargain.
Explain.
Well, it's a lesser offense. It's not capital 1. It's not going to the chair. It might be 20 to life. It might be less.
What about it, Doug Burns?
No, I agree with Raymond. I mean, everybody's been unsuccessful in trying to get her to speak. Well, when they sit her down in a room and say, we are seeking to put you to death potentially, I think her attitude may change. And I think those lesser charges are in there, exactly as Ray said, to get her to explain what really happened.
Well, let me see the 2 defense attorneys right now. Both of you are misleading the viewers. And I say this because you all know that on a murder 1 charge, without there being an additional indictment, the jury will be given opportunities to find a lesser included offense, such as manslaughter. It didn't have to be in the indictment.
Nancy, go ahead, Doug, go ahead.
No, we're talking about plea bargaining, not necessarily.
So it doesn't have to be in the indictment for a plea bargain either, well, Doug Burns.
But it's indicative of the fact that the state is already positioning this. Right. Number 1, they don't have quite the case they think they do. Or number 2, as Doug said, they're sending her and her counsel a message. Come on, we've got this set up for your plea.
Yep.
Let's see the lawyers again. You know what, you 2? I'm not including Nijam in this one because he's never said this. But you 2, from the get-go, second verse, same as the first. Every time I threw you a question, no matter what the question was, it was blah, blah, blah. There's not an indictment. Well, today, there is an indictment, and you're already saying the state is jockeying for a position. You know, it never ends with you 2. We are taking your calls live to Shannon in Florida. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Thank you. What's your question, dear?
About what you're talking about, the indictment, how can the grand jury see it but then do the manslaughter charge also?
Okay, you know what? I couldn't make out your question. Repeat. Okay, can't hear Shannon in Florida. Let's go to Marla in Texas. Hi, Marla.
Yes, hello, Nancy. Thank you for taking my call. My question is, on the dress that they found like 2 days ago, any results on that?
Let's go straight to Tim Miller with Texas EquiSearch. Tim, what more can you tell us about the dress that was discovered a child's size 6? It was a Disney World Mickey Mouse dress, similar to a dress we know that Caylee once had. It has been sent for testing. What can you tell us about it?
Just what you just said, Nancy. It's been sent for testing, and of course it's going to take some time for results to come back on that dress. But, you know, that's all I know about the dress.
Tim, are you going to resume searching or not?
Nancy, we don't have a choice. I mean, right now with the evidence that apparently has came down, it's, you know, it looks like it's apparent there's a body out there, and for no reason to try to put Casey through no more pain. Caylee's little body needs to be found. I mean, this little girl needs to be found. The community
So is that a
needs
yes?
that closure. Yes, Kaylee's body needs to be found.
So are you going to continue searching?
The search, Nancy, will be larger than any search I feel we have ever done in history. Yes. The answer is yes.
Out to Mike Brooks, former Fed with the FBI. What were the feds doing in that grand jury testimony today?
Well, Nancy, you kind of broke it down. You had George, you had the cadaver dog, you had the lead investigator, and the FBI agent in between. He was second from last. He was there to testify on all the investigative leads that the FBI has conducted, both in Florida, out of Florida, the forensic testing, and possibly, quite possibly, some of the polygraph examinations that were given by their people. He was there to talk about anything and any role that the FBI has had in this case in cooperation with Orange County.
To Mark Williams with WNDB. Mark, I noticed that in much of the reporting, it was stated that results from the Oak Ridge Body Farm were the impetus of the state's final decision to go to the grand jury. Is there more from the body farm than what we know other than the air samples out of the trunk?
Well, if there is, Nancy, they aren't certainly telling us. They haven't told us that information whatsoever. I would assume, again, just an assumption, that when the body farm did conduct the air quality samples and found that chloroform in the back of Casey's car, is that there is a lot more to be let out, and I think that will come out during trial, Nancy.
Back to Mr. Mark Nejame. He is the attorney for Cindy and George Anthony. At this juncture, do you believe that they will cooperate with police, or are all bets off?
No, I don't know why you would make that statement, Nancy. The fact of the matter is George obviously cooperated with the police. In fact, we kept it under the radar, but a week ago they voluntarily, without subpoena, went in and provided DNA samples of saliva and hair. So the fact of the matter is,
You know what? You're right, Mr. Nejame. Let me rephrase my question.
Thank you.
Will Cindy Anthony now cooperate, and Lee Anthony, fully with police?
Well, I don't represent Lee Anthony. I've only met him once, so I can't address Lee. I can tell you that Cindy Anthony appeared voluntarily a week ago without subpoena and gave hair and saliva samples pursuant to request. So the answer was she did, and I anticipate that would continue.
Do you believe they'll take polygraphs?
I'm sorry?
Will they take polygraphs?
If deemed to be appropriate, but as you well know, they're inappropriate because if Cindy's on medication and they're not suspects and they're not,
plenty of witnesses take polygraphs.
Excuse me, I wasn't through.
It only took the grand jury about 30 minutes to come to a conclusion on this case. At least 12 people up there believed that there was enough evidence to indict Casey Anthony for murder.
This indictment is not proof of guilt. It is a grand jury finding and accusation. The defendant is cloaked with a presumption of innocence and has a right to a jury trial.
To Dr. Bethany Marshall, psychoanalyst and author of Deal Breakers. Bethany, you've seen the press conference this afternoon where she finally broke down in tears just around the time of her indictment. What do you make of it?
Well, I think it's tempting to think, as Jose Padilla suggested, that reality has hit her, but I really doubt that. I mean, she's shown a complete incapacity to grapple with reality or to even let it bother her in any real way. I think the fact is her Christmas has been taken away. I think this was a carefully laid plan to get rid of her daughter so she could have a fantastic life and to spend time with her boyfriend and her friends. And now it's all gone, and that's what she's thinking about, I believe, at this moment.